We have Sheila Frick with us today, and I am so honored to have her here. She is my teacher. I've learned therapeutic listening from her, and I'm so excited to talk to her. Sheila, you're so welcome on my channel.
Well, thank you so much. I just feel really blessed to have the opportunity to share the work that I've been doing for the last really 35 years and how I've seen so many changes in children and adults that I've worked with that to me, to be able to share it with people is really just a joy.
For parents who are listening, if they want to know that can we do therapeutic listening in a car? Can my child just sit and just listen to therapeutic listening? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd say it depends on your child. Is the child looking organized or is it overloading them? That depends child by child. Is this a child who in the past has gotten car sick? Probably I wouldn't do it in the car. It's more stimulation, and they're getting also the stimulation from the car. Um, so is this a child that has been a strategy where you've used music to settle in the car? Then probably yes. And I would just look at their response. But I have had people do it in the car. So always those questions are based, well, not always. There'll be some that I'm going to say, oh, I'll never do that. But basically, it's just how they're responding.
And what if parents want to know that if I just do therapeutic listening, that would be enough? I mean, no other therapy, only therapeutic listening. Would that help? Because some
I,
parents,
I think,
sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry. It wouldn't be my way of going after it, but people have done it and have seen nice results. So, and if you're not getting the results that way, then check into getting a little bit more support around that.
Mm, okay. And as you said, not everybody would get disorganized, but if kids get disorganized, then as we say, we take an integration break and we pause. Is there something else, I mean, that can be done or like to, as you said, the right music may not cause that much of disorganization, but what if parents see disorganization? Do they need to get worried? Oh my God, my child has regressed, or
Oh, no. So this is where whenever there's disorganization, I always have the parents work with their therapist. I'm always available um, to therapists through questions at Vital Links. If somebody gets disorganized, to sort through that. So just to have another layer of support for the therapist. So really behind disorganization, there's a parent and a family, and then the therapist is going to feed me information and then I can support. So sometimes it's stopping for a day or two. Sometimes it's changing the music. Um, those are the two things. And sometimes it's adding one more support, maybe changing the listening time, maybe changing the way that you're doing it. And so if a child on my caseload were to get disorganized, I would ask a lot of questions to sort out what to do with that. And sometimes what I would do is nothing, keep going. But it's because if the child got disorganized and the family was seeing really incredible, something positive that was really incredible, um, I would keep going. And so, but it would only be in this case. So a mom calls me, she's a little panicked, and X is happening. And I say, okay. So I would have my chart out and I'd be looking at what were the other things that I know about this child and what are the areas that this family was really needing to change. And I'd start asking about some of those because oftentimes in this slight disorganization, a glimmer of something that is really big is coming. So I try to figure out, is there a positive here? So I had a child that was getting disorganized on music and was doing a stim that the mom didn't like. And so at that point, and she was panicked about the stim because she felt like what he was doing, the movement he was doing, was making him look different at school. And so we literally stopped doing that listening and we took a break. And then we went on to other music and he was making some nice progress. And then we were on one particular music selection and that stim came back that she didn't like. And but he made a friend on the playground, and she really wanted him that more than anything to make a friend. And she said, well, he's doing um, that thing again. And she said, but that's okay. See, it's like,
Mhm.
so you got to dig into the context. Because now she could see that there was this positive. We see this all the time in development. A child starts talking and then maybe sleep drops out, or a child starts doing something else and then maybe potty training goes back for a little bit. Maybe a child, my granddaughter can get really uh, sticky sometimes, I call it, or really can have some rough patches, but it's usually something else is coming with it. Something's emerging. And then she goes along just fine. And then a couple of bumps in the road. It's usually a growth period. So you're going to try to sort out, is this really disorganized, or is this reorganization? And the other thing is this disorganization that is coming with the positive thing, is this something that's okay right now in this family's life? Because maybe in this family's life right now, it's not a good time, even though we see something positive. So I think you always have to take it on a case by case basis.
Mm. And what about kids who cannot wear headphones? They're very uncomfortable with headphones. Then, what do you suggest to parents? Because the first thing is like, oh my God, my child won't wear headphones. Not every parent says that, but this is a very
Yeah, but a lot.
common. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's as big of a problem as people think it's going to be. And so it's how you approach the headphones, how you are in relationship with the child. It also can be working through a snag by something I would call gentle insistence. I think there's a real art form to it. Getting headphones on, I think that could actually be a whole uh, kind of podcast. The little guy that I was talking about that gained the language, I always work with mom, and I tried to get headphones on. It was a no-go. And she said to me, I don't think you're going to get those headphones on them. And I said, well, can I give it a try? And then another time, could I give it a go? And she said, no, you're not going to. And then we worked over speakers in a small room with a specific setup for his listening. And we were about 3 choices in, and she said, I think you can get headphones on now. So again, it's always working in the context and working in relationship. I feel like for me, the caregiver, the primary caregiver who brings the child to me, who is the one who is with them on a regular basis, I'm also, when I'm assessing the child, I'm also reading them. I get so much information from families because they know their child the best. So for me, it's a partnership here. It's not only my relationship with the child, and when I talk about holding space, I don't go in thinking it's going to be a problem. That's your number one problem. Then you go in like that. It's not going to be a problem. I can get headphones on a lot of kids. And so it's often bigger in our minds. And if you approach with that, you are not going to get it. But if you approach with, well, maybe I can get them on, and maybe not now, but when, and maybe not like this, but how, and that you keep going for that. I had another little girl with Down syndrome that made amazing changes, and we did give it an attempt, and mom really wasn't into working at it at all. And I'm like, fine. And she made some nice changes. And then we got, again, maybe 6 lections in, and she said, wow, she's really making nice changes, but I want more language. And I said, well, if you want language, you need to get the headphones on, because when you put sound in the air, the high frequencies, the details of the sound die out. That's what helps you learn cat, bat, whatever, the word. And then, you hear it said over and over, and then you try to make the sound, and then you play with the sound, and then you hear it, and you keep zooming in on those details. And so she's like, oh, I can get headphones on. Like, now it mattered to her. And we got headphones on, and we got more language. So it's again, I wish there was one simple answer, one simple technique. One, you handed a fidget, you used a bubble tub. Those things are great. They could work, but it's never that simple. Well, I haven't found it to be that simple. It's based in relationship and approach and holding space. the way that you're thinking, the way you connect, and the way that everybody who is involved with this child connects. So again, that's why I'm going to think it's always best embedded in this larger, really sensory integrative and relationship based approaches are going to be the most supportive to you in working with therapeutic listening.
Yeah. Which are the places where we get do therapeutic listening? Meaning, most parents feel it can be done only at home, but I've seen it happens in school also,
Yeah.
mm,
Oh, many, many,
outdoors.
many
Yeah.
school-based programs. I had a dad who took a styrofoam bike helmet and did an X-Acto knife and fit the headphones over the bike helmet and put it on his child and took him for bike rides. And again, not in traffic on, country roads or in some of our, areas, the suburbs, more. So you always have to think about the space that you're also in, because we don't think about sound as sensory input. It's not about one thing. It's about the context, really. So, you could listen anywhere that you see that it's working if you can figure out how to manipulate the variables. So it's very flexible, and I think that's one of the things that we noticed early on, that here you had this powerful thing that you could send home and the families could manage, that didn't require, even I absolutely am a big fan of the Wilbarger technique and using the pressure touch uh, brushing technique. But it requires somebody's time. Just popping headphones on. Once you get in the rhythm of it, is easy. And I've had kids come for their headphones, ask for their headphones.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happens. A lot of kids who I work with, when they go to a park, they say, they don't say the name of the music. They say green music, orange music,
Yeah.
blue music. Like that's how they say. And some parents, they say, every time when she goes to the park, she knows this color music. When she's eating, she knows that music. They when they're not able to take that vestibular input, they know what music would help them. So they're amazing. I mean, like, so at parks, in a classroom, not in a
Yeah.
classroom, but like it can be done at any place, right? That's the whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny because, and you're referring to the color of the albums on the app. It's funny because my own granddaughter, a year later, I had used Regulation 2, which is green, with her. And she, kids are savvy. She's caught that on the phone. I didn't even talk about the green music. And I was probably about 6 months to a year later, she was unsettled and she said, Gia, can I have the green music? I was like, oh my gosh, well, when kids can ask like that, then they know it with every cell of their body that
Yes.
that was supportive of them.
Yes. And some of my non-verbal kids, they just scroll and they say, this is the music that I want. And they know that it supports them. They can swing
Yes.
better, they can climb those jungle gyms better when that music is playing in the background. So it's just amazing, it's really amazing. So most parents who are listening may want to know that how long would we continue doing this music for? As in, if we start, would it be needed forever or we stop sometime?
Well, needed, no, but here's the thing. Especially there is a therapist, Anna Richards, who is in the UK, and she has been part of a project which is a school for children, uh, autistic children with severe and complex needs. So we're talking about really, really individuals that are really challenged, where many of the things that we would just think ordinary as life experiences are really, really hard for them. And what she has found is that um, individuals, she's using listening for years, it's not the same listening, but the trajectory is like this. You're not using it for the year to keep the same gain and to keep somebody regulated. You're using it because you keep seeing change. And that it is supportive. Some of the things, so it's some of the quick shifts you might use situationally, like, you have a cup of coffee to get ready to work. You could use a gentle focus quick shift, and maybe you use that on and off, and that could be a support. But in terms of programming for change, she has found that. And she has also found, particularly with children with autism, that they actually can listen repetitively more than a child who or an adult who is not on that spectrum, that they don't tire of things. So we would say, for me, if you gave me the same music every single day, that I would start to habituate to it. I would start to not work and I would start to be irritated by it. But she has found that is not true in many of her individuals, and that it can continue to be supportive. So I'd say use it as long as it continues to be supportive.
Yeah. There are many young adults. I mean, it's been like 25 years that I've been working. So the ones who were like 3, 4 are now 28, 29, 30. These are the young adults who are doing very well and who are in college, who are now working. So when they're stressed at work, they say, I have that music and I play it. They don't play it every day, but so
Yes.
it's like not that it was like a continuous thing, but whenever there's more stress at work or when there's a exam coming in, they know that that music helps. So it is helping them, even like it has been helping them for the last, I don't know how many years. So it's not like a continuous thing, but as you said, yeah, it's like on and off. The
Yeah.
other thing that Sorry.
Go ahead. I hear one of your stories, it draws up one of mine, but let's continue with the questions.
The other thing is when parents would wonder is, what about kids, like when they were listening to music and sometimes some of them get seizures, like not because of the music, just generally. And then they have to take that the seizure free period of 1 year. So are there any other contraindications, as in who are the people who can't listen to, who cannot do therapeutic listening?
Um, no, there's cautions. Like a tic disorder is a caution, but we've seen so many people do really well on it. But sometimes what you see in the disorganization with a tic disorder is that they might increase in ticking for a little bit, but then it tends to wane. So there's the caution. Like, and is this okay with you if it's an adult you're working with? Is this okay with you if it's a family? So it's just things that you want to know ahead of time. I think another caution would be not to play the music too loud, um, because loud music on headphones is a bad idea for all of us. It would impair your hearing. So there's these basic cautions, but really, in my 35 plus years using sound, I've never seen something happen that was irreversible. And I've never seen something that was really alarming to me.
Mm.
So I suppose that's always in the world a possibility. But I think if you have somebody who has a really unstable nervous system and really unusual, that you would just move with caution.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like those little periods of disorganization. We almost say stop. I almost always say stop if it's a family and I say it's Friday. I say, I don't have time to spend, enough time with you in emails, or I can't get back to you right away. I might just say stop. I'll get back to you on Monday. Take a break. Always take a break. And it's just a couple of days break to sort things out. And don't keep going and say, oh, this is great. This is part of the process. You need constant clinical reasoning, I think, to do a good job with therapeutic listening, why it's not just out for the general public to use, and why we don't train parents. Although they know their child the best, they don't have the whole realm, unless they're OTs or have a therapeutic background, but they don't have that whole range of information that we draw on to design programs.
Yeah. And the last question that parents have is that if a child has, like a lot of kids, not lot, some of the kids who have a diagnosis of autism also have hearing loss. And they are like,
Yes.
would my child be able to benefit? I have worked with a lot of kids who've benefited even when they've had 80% hearing loss. So what is your, if people can, your views?
So you're not working on hearing, you're working on listening. So you're going to sharpen whatever information they can take in, you're going to sharpen their ability to use that. And this is where I've seen incredible results with hearing loss as well as cochlear implants. really nice because you're retraining not hearing but listening. And listening is sensory integration. And sensory integration happens low in the brain where all the information comes together from the outside and the inside world and organizing it for use. And so it's that how things come together lower really influences how it's going to travel higher to higher centers of the brain. So lower centers of the brain are about survival and are just basically getting us oriented and connected. Are we safe? Do we move towards something? Do we move away? And so when you organize that and you bias the system towards it's safe to approach, you set up for everything else. If you stay in the negativity or in hearing loss, you stay in the not connected, then all of the things that you have potential for organizing and getting into and taking to a higher level with the cortical levels, more what you develop skill, can't develop. And so to me, it's like, I want in. The brainstem is how we're going to get information up and how well is it going to be sorted and pulled together and biased toward positive or negative. And then what do you want to send up to the higher computer computes and learns and remembers? And
Yeah.
so that's basically, yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
think it's an underserved population. I think Down syndrome is another underserved population with the therapeutic listening, and people don't realize the amount of change that's possible.
I said last question, but another one is for therapists who are listening and they are like, I want to get certified in therapeutic listening. So what do they do? I mean, they just write to Vital Links, right? Info at
Yeah,
vitallinks
so
dot.
Vital Links, so just, vitallinks.com has a list of courses. I think it's interesting because we didn't talk differences in modulation, and we could be here all day and it would be super fun. But I don't think people would tune in for all day. Maybe they would, but modulated music really sharpens listening. And when you talk about playing music in the background and things that support a specific thing, you're really, and quickly shift arousal, that's quick shifts. So it depends. Starting with quick shifts is easier. It's a good doorway into sound. And then the modulated music is really more sophisticated. It's really much more program oriented. And you can start wherever you feel like you want to. You can also email vitallinks.com and ask, based on me, this is my credentials, this is what I do, this is the population I work with, this is the setting I work in, this is what I'm going after. Where do you think the best starting point is? And
Yeah.
so I think people like the quick shifts. It's a nice, easy entry point. And you want to get more in depth with sound and really train listening and the real depth of how listening organizes the nervous system, then I would say modulated music. And so you can find those courses. They run, we probably run about 6 of them a year. They are online, they are live. With some exceptions for recordings right now and maybe more recordings in the future. But I feel the strong need to be connected with people in the moment. And the courses always kind of take on the flavor of who's asking the questions. So I like it that way because you can get your own individual questions answered. And to me, I love the live format. But I'm also come from the olden days, so where that's all I ever did. So I am biased.
Wow, it was amazing. You know what? It was really amazing. I'm sure parents who are listening got a lot, and I really appreciate you giving such a lot of time and explaining everything in so much depth. I really want to thank you for all that you've been doing, I mean, you are impacting people like us and people like us are impacting. I mean, you've set out a big chain reaction, and I mean, thank you for being you. Thank you for doing such, I mean, thank you for therapeutic listening.
Well, and thank all of you for listening and joining me because to me that this ripple effect is the greatest gift of my life. So just as a therapist, I've always believed in change and what's possible. And I kind of didn't even know the extent of that. And now I'm just really honored and blessed. And I think I consider it a high honor to be a teacher. And it's something that brings my life so much joy. So thank all of you as well.